what you're on.
Okay, so we have our head. We're looking at it, and we want to draw out the proportions. So we have. So what I would do is I would draw a circle about as big as your hand. Some of your hands are smaller, maybe slightly bigger than that. The front of the face kind of comes down like this, and generally I like to do an oval, which gets people understanding how this looks. And what you want to do is you always want to draw lightly, okay? So this just gives me some proportions, you know, so this back of the head is probably a little bit bigger than what we have. So I'm not worried about if I have lots of lines. I'm not going to erase. No erasing, okay? So now I'm going to take the distance halfway from here to here, right? Believe it or not, is the eye. No, everybody wants to put the eye up here. No, the eye's halfway, okay? So we don't want the eye too high in the head. The first mistake new drawers always do is they always put the eye too high in the head, and then they don't have enough top of the head for the figure. Okay, the next measurement we want to make is we want to do thirds. Okay, so we want to divide this up into thirds. So I'm going to make a third line here and here. Is that third? Yeah, maybe a little higher. Okay, is that a third? A little higher. Okay, so that's almost a third. Somewhere in here. So we don't care about that line. Okay, so what this is going to give me is the brow and the bottom of the nose. And then the mouth is going to be in between here, just a little higher than halfway. So I have eyes, nose, mouth. Okay. So when I look at this, how am I going to draw this? The eye is a capital A on its side. So if I draw this big, the eye is a capital A on its side. Okay. Now, the eye is actually this whole part right in here. So the eye includes the brow. So if you feel the top of your head right here, okay, the eye goes all the way up here to the cheekbone, which is right down here. So all this from here to here is drawing the eye. So, and he's got fairly thin eye right here. So I'm going to round this off. Okay, so you see the capital A on a profile. And I'm just going to put the lid in here and kind of indicate where some of that is. So it's kind of like this. And the eye is always, the upper eyelid sticks out further than the lower eyelid. Little trick of the trade, keep that in mind. And that varies from person to person. God's made every person unique. So when I look at this, I see this whole shape up here, up to the brow. See my brow line is part of the eye. And he has an eye that is shaped like this. So all this is part of the eye. Now I probably wouldn't start out with this much detail, but I'm just trying to describe how some of these parts are drawn. Now I want to look at the angle of the nose, right? How is this angle curved here? The nose is an L. How cool is that? Okay, all it is a L shape. It's not a V. It's not like that. That's not a nose. No. It's a L shape. So all I'm doing is making an L shape. Then we make the curves and stuff. Okay, so that gives me the distance here. And then the forehead and this curve, right? Now notice the lips. Now I'm going to get off my drawing here. The lips start halfway. The narrow the nose is here. The lips start right here. Do you see that? When you look at the drawing over here, the lips start here. The lips start at the bottom of the nose. If you grab your lip, you kind of grab your lip, you make it out. It starts right at the bottom of the nose, and then the actual lip curves in, and it makes a triangle shape like that. Now the distance between here and here, you want to look at the photo or your reference. And I'm seeing I can make that even further. Okay, I'm going to change it. Now notice I did not erase this. That doesn't matter. Okay, the lower lip is always in further than the upper lip, generally. Now some people, their characteristic is a little bit different. And I'm drawing that contour. Remember how we draw contour lines? You know, so I'm looking at the contour of this and how the chin looks. The chin doesn't stick way out here. The lips don't stick out. They kind of progressively go in. Okay, so that's kind of where the jaw goes. So notice I didn't do the ear. We didn't talk about the ear yet. So if we look at the distance from here to here, or the distance from here to here, is the same distance from the front of the head to the back of the head. Ooh. Now notice I made this a little longer. So the distance from here to here is, so I need to add a little more to the back of the head. If your drawing isn't looking right, it's usually you don't have enough on the back of the head. You know, and you always want to consider plus hair. So once I decide that the distance from here to here is the same distance from here to here, then I can put a center line down, the center axis. Now the center axis could be tilted. If he's tilted forward, looking forward, you know, this will change how that looks. Okay, and so the ear is going to be behind the center axis. Well, you know what? I'm going to make that back farther than what I have it. Let's move it back a little bit. Now notice I'm not erasing any of these lines. All these reference lines are going to disappear later on when I add value. Not a big deal. Okay, so the ear. How to draw the ear. The ear, the top of the ear is across from what? The eyebrow here. Now it changes depending on if you're standing above the person or below the person or right at the person. If you're looking straight at the person, then it's generally above that eyebrow. So I'm boxing this in. Where's the bottom of the ear? Somewhere here. So this ear is that tall. One of the other things new artists always make a mistake of doing is drawing this ear too small. Okay, so I know the height, the top and the bottom, I know the front. So then all I have to do, if you notice, most ears are a half a heart shape. Oh, isn't that interesting? And the inside the ear is very unique to each individual person. So we want to consider about how all these shapes, remember we talked about shapes and value, are different, and everybody's ear is very unique. So I'm just drawing all these shapes in here, and then I'll add value later. So I have the eye placed halfway. You're just going to have to trust me on that. The bottom of the nose is a third. Eyebrow is a third. I'm still pretty good with that, right? I'm thinking this is going to be a little taller up here, so his eyebrows could be up here. And then hair. Remember, hair is going to add more volume to everything. So we're just going to draw it in. See how I'm making the hair bigger? So the hair is, and he's got all this stuff coming back here. Notice one thing though, is the back of the neck attaches behind the ear. If you hold your fingers to the back of your neck, it's right behind your ear. So we want to look at that, and then we want to determine about where is that chin going to go. Okay, so it's something like that. Generally, people make this too narrow. When in doubt, make this wider. So I'm just going to make that wider, just in case. And then he's got all this hair back here. Notice. And then the hair, if I look at the hair, it's kind of triangular shapes. So I'm looking at all these different triangular shapes. and he's got this coming across. So generally, this is how to measure out a head. Eyes halfway, nose, bottom of the nose is a third, the nose is an L shape. You have the narrow of the nose, the lip starts halfway in between the tip of the nose and the narrow of the nose generally. Each individual is very different. We have this top lip, sticks out farther, bottom lip, chin. And each person is going to be slightly different as far as how these are laid out. So what you want to do is you want to practice this many times. Just because you do it once doesn't mean you got it. Okay? The first time you do this, it's going to look ugly. Trust me, you'll get it. We'll talk about how to draw all these individual parts of the face to make it look more believable. Well, here I got two lips. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so that looks a little better. Yeah, he's got a smudge for a mustache, but we're not going to worry about that right now. I'd probably erase that just so it wouldn't be confusing. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to add value. And if you have lots of time left over, you know, you look at where the shadow shapes are. So you're looking at shadow shapes. And then as you do that, you're going to notice some parts, you're going to make adjustments, right? Shadow shapes, very light values, dark values. And you're going to do your cross hatching. Remember doing your values. Do we have an eraser? Mm-hmm. This is bothering me, so I need just a little help here. Whew. Okay, there we go. Okay, not so distracting. So look at where the shadows happen. Shadows happen here. The shadows happen underneath this lip very lightly, very light, right? So the value makes a difference. And that you're just going to always want to practice as you're doing faces. So you're doing different value shapes. Some of this is very dark. So I'm going to press harder. Some of this is very light. All these very light values. And this is what makes it look three-dimensional. It's what really brings a drawing to life. As you're building all these up. Okay, maybe we'll do this again. There's a shadow here, there's a shadow here. And we'll practice this several times so you get the feel of where all these parts are going to go. Okay, done.